everyone. Now we would like to begin the question and answer session. And so thank you very much for your many questions. And of course, we would like to attend to these questions, but the time is quite limited. So please forgive me for selecting some of the questions. So if so, your question has not been selected by us, and so please keep it until the question, the free discussion session, which is beginning at 5 p.m. Japan time, and you're welcome to state what you wanted to ask. Now, first, before the question and answer session, and so from Fujita Medical University, and Dr. Kim Gun is with us. And now, so I'd like to receive a few words from Dr. Kim Gun. Dr. Kim Gun, may I ask you for your comment? Well, hello. Well, so everyone, please meet you. And so are you able to hear me? Yes, I can hear you. And so I'm the Kim Gun from the Faculty of Health Sciences of Fujita, the medical university. I have come from Vietnam, and now I am teaching at Japanese university. And it is my great pleasure to listen to a very valuable presentations from the fellow researchers and those who are working in the healthcare industry. And so we have come to understand the conditions of the medical care and healthcare and elderly care and society in Asia. So those are so highly associated with the culture of local area and also the situation of each country. But it is my great pleasure to have an input from you, and so that was a great learning experience for me. Thank you. And any other things? Well, thank you very much. Now, then, so shall we answer your question and one by one? And the first question we received is the difference of oral care in Japan and Indonesia. So this is related to the presentations by Professor Hirano, Professor Higashijima, and Dr. Lisner. So I would like these three ladies to answer these questions. And now, so I'm Hirano, and I would like to answer this question. And this is so from the viewpoint of the series of the process, and in that, so we have come up with some data. The Indonesians working in Japan and the Indonesians working in Indonesia. This shows the differences in the implementation rate of the oral care. The red the graph shows the ones working in Japan. So as you can compare, that those working in Japan are providing oral care to the care receivers. And they're also paying attention to the sitting posture and the height of the tables and chairs. And so when something happens, and so if there's a system like by ringing the bell to call the caregiver or not, and so in this case, so those working in Japan has the more frequency of having these instruments. And then the custom of brushing teeth after meals is not complete in Indonesia, but in Japan it is almost done. And So when the participation, the observation is done in the Professor Higashijima, so therefore I would like to ask her the comment about this. Okay, here's Higashijima speaking. And, well, oral care, so especially the brushing the teeth, and as Hirano said earlier, and in Indonesia, the brushing teeth after meals have not been done properly. And the biggest difference I have noticed by visiting Indonesian care facilities was that, so in the end, so that's relevant to the, so those differences will inform the Indonesian version of this, the oral care in Indonesia. Like there are so many caregivers in Indonesia, so therefore, multiple caregivers can take care of the care receivers. So therefore, so about the posture, you do not really have to, yes, to expect the care receiver to sit straight by herself or by himself. And so because the multiple caregivers to support the posture of the care receiver is available in Indonesia, but in Japan, so we use wheelchairs in Japan. And with some the assistive the implements like cushions and things like that. And in Indonesia, there are wheelchairs. And there are so many wheelchairs in Indonesian facilities, but wheelchairs are viewed only as the vehicle for transferring the care receivers, and they are not really used as a furniture to hold the care receiver, the seating position. So therefore, I think so. This it can be also yes taken into consideration in taking care of the posture of the care receivers. Thank you very much for your comment. Now, I would like to ask listener-san. So when you worked in Japan, so what surprised you about the oral care in Japan when you were working in Japan? Thank you very much for your question. No. And about the differences of oral care in Indonesia and Japan is that, so there are the care receivers with dentures, but not many caregivers do not know how to treat dentures. So in Indonesia, so the dentures are washed only by just water and plain water. But then in Japan, so they use the running water and then use a soft brush to clean the dentures. And denture is kept in a clean case, and also the tablet. And so there's no tablet to keep the denture clean in Indonesia. That's the big difference. And in Indonesia, and so elderly people, and so the cleaning the tongue, so they did not really clean the tongue of the yes, elderly, and so cleaning the tongue. So there are no utensils are used for the cleaning the tongue of the elderly. So and also meal assistance. I was also surprised to see that during meal assistance. And so when I was studying at the nursing school, and when the assisting the food, the feeding, so there's also we learned how to yes deliver food into the oral cavity of the care receivers, and put the spoon just place the spoon to the lip of that. The care receivers, and then so we have to avoid stimulating the lip, and so the hemiplegia, in the case of hemiplegia person, so we try to sit beside the healthy side of the person, and also the meal assistance, and so but other than that, transfer systems. So in the case, so we stand on the pelagic side, paralyzed side of the care receivers.
So we explain the menu in the clockwise manner so that they can get imagination to where the food are placed when they have the visual impairment. And also, the position of the users or the elderly and the rules are also decided. So that they can enjoy the meals. In the Japanese has a lot of different tableware adjusted to the needs of the each individuals. That's the difference I've learned from these two settings. Thank you, listener-san. And now? So now we have received a question about the difference in the care between the domestic and the facilities. Sushiana Sensei, could you please answer using the example of the Indonesia? Thank you. Yes?
Okay, since the question was raised in English, I'm going to answer it in English. Which one is better to taking care of the elderly in nursing home or in family based in community? Yeah, we learn from the concept of aging in place is a popular term in current aging policy, defined as remaining living in a community with some level of independence rather than residential care. So it will very depend on the elderly's condition. For those who are being, especially in Indonesian issues, for those who are being neglected by the family, or they have no family and there's no one taking care of them, they will be better to stay at nursing home or residential home. But we need to notice that in Indonesia itself, the selection of being care in nursing home is quite strict, especially for those nursing home which is managed by the government and some social organization. They need to be poor, being neglected. There's no one, there's no family taking care of them, and then they can enter the nursing home. But if you have enough money, you can choose the residence nursing home with better quality, but it quite high price. So, but in Indonesia, we're still promoting the aging in place. So family is the best one who taking care of the elderly. As long as you still have family, it's better to be educated in how to taking care of the elderly. There are lots of class in Indonesia, especially in how to taking care of the elderly, including Oraga that we are already promoting to the community in Indonesia. Thank you. ありがとうございます。はい、以上です。
はい、土屋先生ありがとうございました。
Professor Sushana, thank you very much. Now, the question was raised by Ogawa Sensei regarding the harmonization of the qualification in the care. It's a kind of a big topic. So first, I would like to ask Ogawa Sensei to tell us about the work or what you are doing in this field briefly before we seek answers to your question. Okay. I would like to take some time. Thank you. Can you hear me okay? Yes, yes, we can. In area 2, the report is published. So maybe it's better to look at the report by yourself. The best way to understand the situation. There is a qualification framework, a concept that is spread from the EU and now further down to the ASEAN as well. This is a kind of the qualification for the profession certificate. So that those who do a certain professions or engage in a certain professions, what kind of the qualification or the skills are expected, and to implement that, what kind of knowledge and skills are required to achieve this level. And this idea will be shared beyond national borders. So now this idea is spreading further and further. But the care or long-term care is not formally positioned in this framework yet. In Japan too, there is a lot of the initiative efforts being made to position the profession of the care in the international framework, and it has to be shared formally. Otherwise, the Japan cannot lead the next generation the care field. So the oral care skills and oral care knowledge, when it comes to it, the care as the is not the level of the social workers, but in Philippines, the level is very considered, recognized. Caregivers positioning is very, very lower in Philippines. So the knowledge and the skills, and it should be standardized in terms of these professions. Otherwise, the idea or concepts cannot be disseminated. So there are a lot of efforts made to standardize this among the countries. So I would like the speakers today to learn this framework so that they can build upon this experience and the knowledge for your future the initiatives or efforts to be made. Professor Ogawa, thank you very much. So regarding the questions raised by Ogawa Sensei, I'd like to ask the Fukui-san to give feedback or any answers or questions to Ogawa Sensei. Okay. As I presented in my presentation previously, I think the theory or the philosophy of the care is different from country to country. In Japan, the livelihood of the users are supported in the wider scale, but in Philippines, it's just a part of the profession. So in my view, so it's like a little bit higher than the helper, but lower than the nurses. So they don't try to pursue this profession as a professionals. So the definition of the care or long-term care has to be aligned among countries first. And after this definition is established, and then how much pay or salary they can get when they get this profession. So I think we have to incentivize them for taking this kind of job, even though they brush up their skills and knowledge. But if the salary is not increased, maybe no one would aspire for this profession. So maybe I think the definition should include the level of the earnings or compensations that they can earn. Okay, so I'd like to request Tsuchihashi-san to give this some point of view. Can you see me okay? Yep. I'm practicing the care in Vietnam, and I feel that in Vietnam, the nursing and the care is not separated completely. So the care is done by anyone, and it lacks the expertise or specialties. So that's the prevalent view. And in this facility, so I'm the only one. They are the care worker, and I'm not allowed to practice any medical treatment, so I cannot give a shot or injections. So sometimes I was asked at some point that what specialty I have, what I am specialized for. So sometimes I feel bad, and I wanted to go back to Japan. So I decided to pursue the lifestyle model in terms of the medical the model. That's why this is how my specialty is recognized among the peers. So I think the people who return from the Japan should put into practice and disseminate it. But not me, but the foreign nationals who is doing the care in Japan, after they come back to their home country and they provide education and training to the peers in their home country. And then this is how this idea or concept should spread. And then I think that all people in this circle should help them. And also the educators are the ones who are returned or returnees, and also the top management are business owners of the care facility should also urge to understand the culture and the philosophy of the Japanese care.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tsuchihashi. And next, Fukui-san, Mr. Fukui. And so there's a question to, so global leadership development programs. And so this questioner wants to know more about the global leadership program. Thank you very much for your question. And yes, so I have seen the care world of the care from outside, and how we can teach the Japanese care and how we can teach the Japanese way. But so instead of having this one-way vector, I think it is important though. But at the same time, the receiving the hospitals and institutions should be able to raise their capability of understanding of other cultures, cross-cultural understanding, especially the leaders of the site. So therefore, so I'd like to invite those leaders of care facilities and institutions to come to the Philippines and see on-site, and also the different industries have already received workers from abroad. So therefore, they may be able to learn from their past experience. That program is already done. So. But what's important mostly is that first, you yourself has to go out of Japan, and then so be ashamed of not knowing the local culture, and so because while you're in Japan, so everything is convenient and you're not really aware of how it is to be abroad and work abroad. But then, so because of this, COVID-19, we have been able to use webinars like this and more often. So we would like to use these tools more often in the future. Thank you very much. And Huan-san from Vietnam. So there's a question about the Vietnamese nursing system, and so in Vietnam there are the medical professional healthcare professionals, the certification system. How can we divide these different roles between doctors and nurses, and then nurses who have completed the 2-year program, and what is the future career track for those nurses? Huan-san, thank you very much for your question, and thank you very much for your participation. And I am Huan, and in Vietnam, and the doctors and nurses just have the certificate for the professional healthcare workers. But then, so the medical professionals so they have to leave the school and 18 months after completing the full course. And in the case of nurses, they have to receive 12 months of the practical training. And then the certificate carries the details of the scope of the responsibilities of the profession. So even though the certification, the framework is the same, however, so in detail, so you may know what the qualification of the person, like the radiologist or whatever. And now in Vietnam, so what started this year is that the middle class nurse education, and until recently, and so nurses working for the hospitals for 2 years, and so after just finishing the 2-year course, so they are required to further their education, and they can come back to university, and so they have to have 3-year course. Then, so they have to complete the 4-year education, and their hours of study. Yeah. So 2 years. So they have to get a university bachelor's degree within 2 years. then they can get the bachelor nurse degree.
はい、ポンさんありがとうござい
Well,
ます。
Huan-san, thank you very much.
それではですね、
Now,
続きまして、
next question is for yes, Mr. Tsuchiyahashi. There are a few questions, 2 or 3. So I hope you'll be able to answer these 3 in one go. So if I can explain in briefly. So the care receivers in your facility. So what are their background and then the social status, and the secondly, and
日本からの技術移転、
and the technical transfer. So if there are any impediments, what are the impediments and how can we overcome those impediments? And thirdly, and the Vietnam's nursing, the elderly care is 0 or 100, and then from those people, and so what the Japanese the care is seen from those people. So I work for a local institution, and so there are as many as 400 and the protective home. But Nyan Ai, the elderly care home, is it's an elderly care facility. So the difference is, so in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh, and there are many the nuclear families because of urbanization. And so therefore, so there are not many family members to take care of the elderly. And so elderly care needs is seen as, so from the problems of nuclear families. So the needs increased in the urban areas. And Nian Hanoi has a population of 8 million, and there are as many as 30 elderly care institutions, and those residents or users of care about a middle class, and so about the middle class, middle of the upper class, or some top officials or of the Communist Party or the university professors or government officials, retired government officials, and the reason for coming into the institution is that so they come from the nuclear family. So of course the family members have the will to take care of the elderly. So when you go to the rural areas, and then people can take turns to look after their elderly patients. So because there are several siblings, but then in major metropolitan areas, that's really difficult. And then another question is the technical transfer from Japan. What are the impediments for technical transfer from Japan to overseas? And I think there are many factors to it. And the major one, so which I feel strongly is recently, is that the nurses. So the Japanese, the caregiving, so whether the Japanese caregiving will be able to accommodate people who come from abroad. So if we try to impose the Japanese way to those migrant workers, and so it may not work. So therefore, so you need to educate the migrant, the caregivers, and also the managers of the facilities or the business owners should have a good understanding. So not just about imposing the Japanese way. And so another thing I have felt just recently is that in Vietnam, and there are yes some things that are that we are behind in Vietnam, but more people are using smartphones in Vietnam. So that part of technology is advanced. The EX and AI may be able to to use. So probably so Japanese the long-term care the insurance system will work as an impediment for the introduction of new technologies. So 0 or 100 care. And so what is seen from the view of Japan, and Japan is quite advanced in terms of the aging of the population. And so people do not know why, but so people have a vague idea that Japan is super, but they do not really know what is super about Japan. So Therefore, so once they come to Japan and then they see what is done, so on site, practically, so they may have difficulty accepting it immediately. So therefore, so really have to modify it or make it easier for the care workers coming from abroad to get used to. And also, so we need to have a communication with people in the local community to change a little bit. Thank you very much, Mr. Tsuchihashi. And as the time is quite limited, I would like to ask Professor Hirano for her comment.
This is Hirano. Thank you very much for very good questions being raised. The factors to impede this the technology transfer, it's been answered from the local point of view, but from the peripheral person's point of view, for example, so that even Japanese educators don't really understand the difference of the nursing and care. So the basics are there, but we ourselves, as an educator, should understand that's the care and nursing and also the insurance system, but the education is not provided yet in such a way that's questionable. And also the medical model and the lifestyle models are existing, but it's different from country to country. And Chief Yu-san made a very good comment on the chat. That which is that the in Vietnam, same as in like the medical model and the lifestyle model is kind of mixed to a large extent. But from my point of view, Philippines is the medical and the lifestyle model is totally different. So I think it's a fluid, or the this is a very flexible. So this is not only the method we provide care, but what is all about the care itself has to be. It's influenced relatively by the culture or the socio-economical scheme. So that has to be well understood by the media or the educators and Japanese teachers or the people around the globe. That would be the necessary condition for us to move forward. Professor Hirano, thank you very much. With that, we'd like to conclude the Q&A session. After that, we would like to initiate the free discussions. But before that, I would like to close the Q&A session, and I would like to request the Professor Yoneno Michio, the Professor of University of Shizuoka, for closing remarks. Thank you very much for your participation in the online event entitled Japan's Long-Term Care Build from Asia. And for today's session, the three countries, Indonesia, Vietnam, Philippines from Southeast Asia, and the care workers who are active in this field shared their point of view and also their knowledge. The Hirano Sensei has engaged in this care. The oral care, she paid attention to the oral care, which is least susceptible to the influence of the culture. But still now, the difference of the culture is highlighted even in the oral care. So that is our discovery today. So the training module developed in Japan is translated into the Vietnamese and the other countries' language, and how the staff members has dealt with the difference of the cultures very meticulously, that we felt. So they had contact with the local people and also the discussion with local people and customized it according to the local needs. And the experts in the science and the art field get together, and the doctors and also the nurses who are experienced in the clinical practice also participated. So these people can understand the field of the care and the nursing from the multidisciplinary point of view, and also the care workers, the specialists who have experienced in the international setting is also contributed as a speaker. So through this the events, we are very happy and honored to have a special time with the experts and these organizers to discuss this topic. The aging society with low birth rate is not limited to Japan's problem. This aging is also studied in Southeast Asian countries, and it is destined to accelerate further very rapidly. So the Japan's the Asia, we must take this the Japan's aging problem as a global issue, but maybe we should take up this as the local issue in the Asia, so that we can deal with the problem more realistically. Within this region, knowledge, technology, and human resources should be shared and exchanged in a healthy manner, so that all of us as a resident in this region can lead a very healthy long life. So we are destined to organize these events moving forward. So I would appreciate you write down your contact address so that we can send an invitation of our future seminars and webinars. So thank you very much for all the audience and the staff members and organizers and speakers for your time to participate in this event. Thank you. Yoreda Sensei, thank you very much. That concludes today's online conference. Thank you very much for your participation today. After this, until 5:30 Japan time, so that means 20 minutes, a little bit 20 minutes more, we have a time set aside for the free discussion where the participants and the panels can discuss freely. So if you have still time and interested, please stay on. In the Q&A session, we failed to take up the questions regarding the Japanese language, and also this is the tube feeding issues. We would like to discuss these 2 points as well in this free discussion session. Thank you very much for your participation first.
はい。
Okay.
かなり、はい。では、早速ですが、自由討論に移らせて。
Now we would like to move on to the free discussion session.
そうですね。自由討論ですので、チャットで。
So this is a free discussion, so you can raise your questions on the chat box, or you can raise your hand and I can appoint you for your question. And then you can turn on your microphone and you can ask your questions verbally through microphone.
はい。じゃあ、その前にですね、
But before that, the question was raised about the Japanese language. So we would like to entertain this question first. So maybe I'm afraid I'd like to request Tsuchihashi-san to share your view on this topic, if possible. The Vietnamese learning Japanese, yeah. When they practice the care, what Japanese language is required or what is appropriate level? When you learn Japanese in Vietnam, they take about the 6 months for N4, and N3 takes 1 year, excuse me. So maybe it's better to go to Japan after acquiring the N3 Japanese language level. If the period extends too long for study, some people will drop out or quit their studying. So it's difficult to discern the timing. But as long as you have the language level of N3, they will be able to solve the various issues on their own. So the N3 level is desirable. But N4 level, with N4 level, if they practice a lot of the conversation and if they receive a good education on language, and also if they understand the care terminologies for a certain period of time, I think they are ready to be dispatched to Japan. But I think the quality is different from institution to institution. In my school, there are some other Japanese, but there are other schools which doesn't carry the Japanese personnel who teach care or the language. So you have to be very careful in selecting the school to learn Japanese. Otherwise, if they after they go to Japan, they will be at a loss, totally at a loss as to the what is all about the care. So I think the education is very important before they go. And also when they are engaged in the care in Japan, I think the level of compensation required there is that for work, since this is the host institution, it depends on the idea or the philosophy of the host institution. If the host institution is good, they try to provide a solid education for Japanese, and also they will try to do many things to keep their motivation high. So they give incentive money after they get N2 level, or they also provide more opportunities for learning. But so that's without giving any incentive, and then even though they are not able to speak Japanese, and then if the facility just allow the caregivers, foreign caregivers, to just do the routine work without speaking. So that I think they don't brush up their Japanese. So I think it's that this would changes depending on the attitude of the host institution.
いかがでしょう、どなたか
Thank you. And so, does anyone have any yes, additional comment about the issue of Japanese language? And so, feel free to raise your hand. Yeah, there are several hands already raised, and but you may be able to raise your hand still. And so, is this okay? No.
はい、ご質問いただいた方がちょっとすみません、すぐにい
Well,
らっしゃるかどうかわからない
well, I don't know if the questioner is still with us, and so probably Mr. Tsuchihashi may have answered your questions. Now, the Professor Higashijima
景観栄養
and the tube feedings. So the content of the question, and so could you explain briefly what the question was asked about the tube feeding? Yes, there was a question about so NGT and nasogastric nutrition, and so in Japan, so the cerebral or artery the patients have those NGT. So there may be some questions, some problems. So the question, the gist of the question is that the problems associated with the use of tube feeding, and then there are two major reasons for using the tube feeding. And the people who cannot eat, and then when we try to train a person to eat, and so but training cannot be started until the person can take enough nutrition. So therefore, first we have to secure enough nutrition for the person. So for that reason, we have the nasal tube feeding or gastric tube feeding, and so at the same time, so the person is fed through the tubes, and at the same time, the rehabilitation, the physical training for the rehabilitation is done. So this is the constructive purpose of using the NGT, and another factor behind it is that so not everyone can recover to be able to eat food from their mouth, but so eating has to be continued in one way or another, and so because it is the way to take nutrition into the body system. So therefore, so in that case, so if the person did not recover, so that NGT is still used, but when the case is positive, so the person is taken care at a hospital for short term. But if the care is needed for the prolonged period, then so the person is sent to a care facility by using NGT. So there are two different groups of the persons with cerebral vascular the attack or after cerebral vascular the incident. However, so with these patients, NJT, so even though they do not use oral cavity to take in food, but that does not mean the aspiration does not occur. So sometimes the reflux of that the content of the gastric tube, or so some the complication may occur. So I think that kind of a negative aspect has to be taken into consideration. Thank you very much.
チャットの方に、
So in the chat,
トゥーフンさんに質問
so there's a question to Huon-san.
もしよろしければ、
So if possible, please turn off the microphone and ask a question.
と、ズンティトゥーフンさんに質問
And
です。
so there's a question to Ms. Zunti Hun. And so there was a question to Ms. Zunti Hun. And
これですかね。と今いらっしゃらない。
well, maybe the questioner is gone.
また後で入ってこられる。
Okay,
チャッ
if
トには来てます。
yeah, there is one yes to the chat.
トゥーフンさん、はい。看護2年生課程の人は、
So people who have taken the 2-year course in nursing, so they have to go back to the university to add 2 more years. So according to what you said earlier,
ちょっと終わってますが、
yeah, this is when what the question yes finishes. Yes, I guess this is just a confirmation.
フォンさん、
Huon-san,
ベトナム語で、カオダンは、カオダン。
Kaudan.
はい。
Well, yeah. Is it okay for me to just share the slides? Well, sorry. So in Vietnam, so the middle class nurse, and then the high class nurse, and then the bachelor nurse. And in Japan, so 2-year course is the equivalent to that of the college, and then the 4-year is equivalent to the university in Japan. And so this year, and so in Vietnam, those nurses who have completed the 2-year course, the high school level, after high school, and so middle class the nurses who are now working in hospitals, so they need to go back to or school. So the step of the education is from the middle, so they have already acquired the middle nurse education. So they would go to the high level, and they have already completed the 2-year course. So therefore, so 2-year maybe subtracted. So therefore, so they only have to go 2 more years. So they can stay on the job for another 2 years, and so this is not doesn't mean they have to quit the job and then go back to school. All right. So did I answer your question?
ありがとうございます。ですから
Okay, thank you very much.
ご質問にある
So
カオダンっていうのは、
so Kaudan is the high school or the college, junior college, but then those institutions are not going to be abolished, right? Yes. No.
はい、ありがとうございました。
Okay.
いかがでしょうか。
No, any questions?
ですので、
Well, as this is a great opportunity, so please send us your questions.
登壇者の今日
Or
の
so I may be able to ask the presenters today to ask questions to fellow participants.
いかがでしょうか。
Anyone?
米野先生、先ほどの日本語の
The Yoneda sensei, Professor Yoneda. So about the Japanese proficiency, do you have any supplementary comment, or so if you can think of any issues? So I know you're not specialized in the teaching of language, but if you have any comments, please.
先ほど土橋さんが、
Well,
演説
yeah,
から言った
Tsuchihashi
ある
san,
と
Mr.
いい、日
Tsuchihashi
本に来た時にいいんじゃないか
said,
という。
so N3 proficiency level of Japanese may be good enough to come to Japan and work as a caregiver, right? So Mr. Tsuchihashi said N3, so maybe the proficiency level that can allow a person to live in Japan and work. And so probably, so I think so depending on the type of care that the caregiver is giving, the necessary Japanese terminologies and language may differ. So instead of saying that so what level is required, but so rather it's important to take a look at the nature of the work that is required of the care worker. So I think this you may be able to take a look at this language issue from this perspective. And well, so roughly speaking, like so if you learn about 3 hours of study, so you can reach N4. So if you go further to N3, so you have to study more. So that's going to cost a lot of money. So people who have an interest to come to work in Japan has to be really determined to study very hard. It's not an easy thing to do. And did I answer your question? Thank you very much for your input.
質問があります。ベトナム語に翻訳
Okay. So
高齢者の誤嚥性肺炎
preventing aspiration, the pneumonia of elderly individuals in Vietnam, and I'm one of the person involved in the translation. So if I may answer this question, so this translation has not been completed yet, and so but our schedule is
そうですね。
so let me see. So next
に
April next year, so we are planning to sell the book, the translated book in Vietnam. Yes. So this is our timeline.
まあ
And-
ただ、今日
But
ナミさんとランフォン
so Nami-san and Langfong-san in their presentation, so they stated that the translation has already been done, but then now it is under a check. So translation itself is done. So you may be able to utilize it, and so in order to share the information and with those which have an interest, who have an interest in this issue in Vietnam, and have a webinar or something like that, even before the book is published. So we would like to start with a study session or a webinar. So if the questioner is interested in participating in it, and I would like to welcome. So I would like to welcome your contacts.
はい。来年の4月からは
From next April in Vietnam, this booklet will be made available. That's our hope. Thank you.
あと5分ぐらい
So we still have 5 minutes left.
いかがでしょうか。
Is there any other questions or comments?
私からじゃあ寿司アナ
So I would like to ask questions to Sushiana Sensei. In Indonesia, the textbook in Indonesia, how many copies have you printed, and how are you utilizing them? Thank you for your question. Well, Up until now, we have made 100 pages, and the different ways of providing care will be further added. So first, we started with the small handbook format so that we can carry around with ourselves. So it's a handbook, so the small booklet like this size, or maybe a little B5 size, a little bit bigger than this small booklet, so that we can easily carry around with us. So the content wise, it's almost adopted most from the Higashishima Sensei's booklet and guidelines, and also, and we extracted from the practice done in the workshop in Osaka. And there is another system in Indonesia. So there are some oral issues and the challenges. We are now still wibbling about how to establish the Indonesian style for the oral care. So that's also incorporated. Okay, thank you very much for your input and feedback. So how you go about the practice in Vietnam, we would like to take example from the Indonesia. So I would appreciate your continued support on that. Thank you. So we still have 3 minutes left now. I would like to request all the speakers today to give us your impression or feedback in the end, one by one. Starting with Hirano Sensei, I would like to ask the order of the presentation. This is Hirano. Thank you very much for your participation for a long time today. What we are thinking now is that I think the care worker is the main character of the care field. Today, we invited the care workers who are very active in the foreign countries, and really appreciate your talk and sharing your insights. We would like to raise and recognize the care workers as a decent work, so that our small step will be accumulated to back this effort up to raise their social position. Thank you very much. Thank you. Higashishima Sensei, please. Well, from the different professions through oral care, I have learned many things with interaction from the multidisciplinary the talent. So I would like to utilize this knowledge and experience on the further development of the OT in my field. Thank you. Sushiana Sensei, please. Thank you. The oral care is not really disseminated in Indonesia yet. So we are just progressed up to the dental care. So from now on, we would like to gain the insights and the knowledge and the skills from Higashishima Sensei and the area, and so that we can utilize it for the betterment of the elderly. Thank you. Listener Sensei, please. Thank you very much for today. I have received a very good experience in participation. From now on, I would like to help disseminate the knowledge and the technology of the oral care that I learned from Sushana Sensei in my country. Thank you. Ripen Sensei, please. Thank you.
I think this is the amazing conference I've been attend, and I wish this conference can make the elderly in Indonesia and Japan being better and better. So I would like to thank you to Hirano Sensei, Susiana Sensei, and the others professor from Japan. to make or to invite me in this conference. And I hope we can see together. We can meet again in another conference in next time. 本当にどうもありがとうございました。
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
では、ガーミンさんとラン
So, Garmin-san and Ranfo-san, please. Garmin-san and Ranfo-san, please.
ガーミンさん、ランフンさん。
Garmin-san, Ranfo-san, I think they are already dropped out.
はい。
They have already all gone. So, Tsuchihashi-san, please. Tsuchihashi-san, please. Yes. I'm a social care worker, and I'm the value they're practicing in the field. So maybe from now on, the 10 years on or 20 years on, I'm imagining what happens in the field in 20 years' time, and I would like to solicit the corporations and ideas of the people in the different disciplines. I'm not specialized in the care, so I have to. So I really would like to continue my work through collaboration and cooperation with them. And Fukui Sensei has gone back to their job. So Fon-san, please. Thank you very much for your participation over long hours in Vietnam. The nurses and the care workers are not differentiated, and it's not developed well. The oral care is also provided by the nurses and the care workers in the hospital as well. So, but it's not recognized as an important task. So today I've learned a lot of the things, including the importance of the oral care, and I appreciate your cooperations moving forward as well. Thank you.
最後に、
Finally, Pulupuli Sensei,
いますでしょうか。
Tribuli Sensei, Professor Tribuli, could you please give us a last comment?
いらっしゃいますかね。
Are you still on the call? Professor Tribuli.
さっきまでいらっしゃったんですけど、もしかしたら席を外されたかも。
Has been on the call a few minutes ago, but maybe she'll have left. Oh, she's still on the call.
外されたかもしれません。
Maybe she left her desk, maybe.
ちょっと残念でしたが、
It was unfortunate, but
時間も過ぎましたので、
time allocated for this conference has already passed, so that
長崎大学レスパティインドネシア大学
concludes the online conference on Japan's long-term care viewed from Asia, co-sponsored by the area and the Nagasaki University and the Respati University Indonesia.
本当に長時間にわたってご参加、最後までご参
We really appreciate your participation for long hours.
加、はい、日本、インドネシア、ベトナム各国からですね。
So from the Philippines, Japan, Indonesia, and Vietnam, I really appreciate your presence in this meeting. And we had a very meaningful and
皆さん本当に
online conference thanks to your participation.